That's awesome. So what, if any, obstacles did you face while getting to your current position?
I think one of the things that was an invisible barrier was I was a young woman. And, we get lost in this conversation where, it's us versus them, or I've got to, overcome some things that maybe just be in your head. I think I had more of a challenge being the youngest person in the room rather than being the only woman. For the most part, we are lucky enough to be in an industry that's woman forward, especially at this company, right? 70% of our employees are female. 50% of our leaders are women. A third of our franchises are women owned. So, I was able to get away from being the young woman in the room to just the young person in the room. And, what I love about this company is I think we put an emphasis on genius over gender. And I think we've done a really good job of making sure that we put all the right people in the room for opportunity. And then, whoever's the smartest at the end of the day is who gets the position or who gets the project. And I think as a leader, that's something that's really important to make sure that you're fostering on whatever team you're part of, whether that's an agent team, you're a manager in an office, you're a leader at corporate. Is your job is not to make sure, it is to push diversity, absolutely, but it's pushing that equality and equal opportunity as the most important thing that you can really focus on. I give Rob Norman a lot of credit. I don't know if he's on this call, but I invited him to a women's lunch in New York City, and he came because he's like, I need to be here. This is important. And we were sitting there, and I think some of the women on the panel got really deep into these, because I'm a woman, this. And if you listen to their stories, it was more of professional barriers. I think some of it was things that they had to overcome personally in their own narrative. And, what I love about this company, and including with Rob, is we really make sure that we're not just speaking to our own circle of women. And one of the reasons why it was so important for me to get involved with What Moves Her and all of our DEI, meetings is if I'm in a room with just women, I'm not doing my job. I really need to make sure that I'm in the room with the other half of the audience listening too. And just Rob being my partner that day in that meeting showed me that I was doing what I needed to do and bridging that gap so that it's not just a bunch of women collaborating and talking about, hey, it's really tough to be a woman in this environment. It's what steps can we take to, partner with men, learn from them, give them also our knowledge as a wisdom transfer. So I'm really happy that we work in a place that fosters that environment. That collaborative environment is so crucial to our success now and for many years to come.
I'm so glad that you said that, and I appreciate too. You talked a little bit about some of the other questions that I had, that you had kind of this perceived bias that was going to be against you of being younger, right? I think a lot of women, including myself, when I entered in the industry, I was 19, and I felt like my hair was the wrong color to join into the sales and do well in our job. Were there any other perceived obstacles or biases that you thought of?
Like I hate getting hung up on the bias because I don't see it at this company in the way that I see it at other companies. So whatever perceptions I had were busted because I was given so many of those opportunities so early in my career. Like I remember so many times sitting next to one of our CEOs or our CMOs or a president being like, I can't believe that I'm even allowed to sit at this table, let alone have a voice. That to me is like absolutely telling that whatever I had in my head was a preconceived notion, and that wasn't the case. I will tell you, the one time in my career that always brings me back to being one of the younger women in the room, was probably within my first probably 3 years of being here. And there was a man in the room, and he kept speaking over me every time I spoke. And at one point he goes, well, Lindsay will take the notes for us. And I didn't say anything at the time, but after I had the meeting with him, I said, can we talk outside? And he said, absolutely. I said, I'm not coming through in a combative way, but I want you to recognize the fact that every time I've spoken in this meeting, you've talked over me. And I thought that it was really dismissive and rude of you to, say that I'm the note taker. I was brought in this meeting just like you were, to have an opinion, to work on strategy. I'm not your secretary, and I would really appreciate it if I can complete my thoughts before you interrupted him. We had the utmost respect going forward. So when those things did happen, I also was very comfortable, even at a young age, addressing them and saying, you give respect, you get respect. And I think that has also allowed me, if there was something that was an issue, addressing it in that very respectful, but like I'm demanding respect also way, has at least helped me in my career.
That's great. Thank you for that. I feel like there is some sort of intimidation level that women speak about a lot. And I'm glad that you felt comfortable in our organization to move forward with that. You also mentioned that a lot of your focus lately is on what moves her. Why was it really so important for you to get involved with what moves her as much as you are?
Yeah, what moves her is amazing. You know, Sue Yannicone started this 4 years ago and really has trusted Sherry and I to take the next chapter. And one of the reasons that it was so important to me, and I'll go back to a point I made earlier, was making sure that we weren't missing half of our audience and that we weren't just talking to women. We were talking to everybody, new leaders, veteran leaders. And one of the things that I said to Sherry was, I see so many of these women getting accolades and being put on lists, and we're celebrating them, but the content piece of this is missing. And that wisdom transfer from, older generations to newer generations of leadership wasn't happening. And I felt like when it was just women to women. So it was really important to me to join this role, making sure that we were focused on the content side of this and what has allowed these women to get to where they are, what advice they have, what tips and tricks. And that's why we've really doubled down on the podcast, is it's given us this outlet for 20-minute quick hits of content that people can listen wherever they are, especially our agents and managers. They're always in their cars, they're always on the go. So giving them a mobile, content-friendly, structure to receive that information has been great. And then the other piece of it was just making sure that it wasn't just us speaking to our women leaders, but also our male leaders as well. Like, we just found out that Ryan Schneider is going to be on the podcast soon. We've had Mike Meadler, who's the CEO of Century 21, and Trey Sarton, who's head of PR. So making sure that we're bringing all of our leaders together to benefit not just our women, but also our male leaders as well. That's been really important to me.
Awesome. You also said, you mentioned tips or tricks. What's your trick for your work-life, home life balance?
Work-life, home life balance doesn't exist. And I think being okay with that is great. Like, there's some days where I feel like I'm super mom, and there's some days where I feel like I'm a terrible mom. And for me, being really comfortable with asking for help when I need it, bringing my whole self to work. Like, I have no problem with one of my kids sitting in the room with me on a meeting, or one of my twins sitting on my lap and just saying, hey, he's homesick this week. Like, it is what it is. I'm trying to do my best just like you are. And I think that helps other working parents. I won't even just say working moms. Like, I like for my team to see, like, not every day is going to be perfect. And that allows them to feel comfortable also bringing their whole selves to work. And that's not just limited to kids, right? People are taking care of sick parents, and they have other stuff going on. And I feel like as a leader, when you bring that whole self, when you are vulnerable and open, it fosters a really great supportive culture and team environment. And that's really healthy and really important to making sure that, people feel comfortable at work. The other thing is, we work in a post-pandemic, really flexible environment, and I try to really take advantage of that, right? So in the past, you had that 9 to 5 or whatever hours you worked at your desk. Having the ability to, run out and do something during the day and make up for that time later in the afternoon, or whatever it is, has also allowed me to be a better employee and a better parent and a better partner. I feel like that's really important, to be able to be smart with your time and to multitask as much as possible. And that's also helped me to keep sanity in my day. And feeling like I can step out and do something with my kids, and I can get to my son's basketball practice or baseball practice, knowing that I'm able to sign on or take, my computer to practice and work from there. That's really helped me to be a better person.
I appreciate all of that. Thank you so much, Lindsay, for taking the time out of your busy day again, and spend it with us. It is important that we learn about women today too, because a lot has changed since the pandemic. So I appreciate you kind of giving us all that permission to go with the flow and make things work.
Don't take life so seriously, and just, I think the more we can just be open and honest about, like, none of us have it easy right now, right? Like, none of us have it super easy, and the more we can just be there for each other and patient and flexible, like, it's only going to benefit everyone around you.
I appreciate that. Hey, Nick, how's the chat going?
There's no questions. If anybody has any questions, please do either ask them now or put them in the chat. A few accolades for Lindsay. Lindsay